Hey up, I'm Guy Kestevan, the Tester Man, and this is my long-term review, long overdue review, some would say, on Manitou's Mattoc Pro. So, Mattoc Pro, mid-weight trail fork, runs from 110 through to 150 mil travel. It weighs in at 1760 grams. And it's got 34 mil stanchions, so that puts it in exactly the same ballpark as RockShox Pike, which it's slightly lighter than, but it has thinner legs and it's not quite as stiff, and the Fox 34, which it has similar size legs to, and I would say it's similar stiffness as well overall, but now with the GripX damper, that Fox fork is slightly lighter than this. I mean, there's not a huge amount in it. I think Pike's 100 grams heavier than Fox is now about 80 grams lighter. But, you know, similar ballpark. And because this is the top of the range Mattoc Pro, the pricing is very similar too. So $1,159 this fork is going to be now. They've just changed distributor in the UK. If you read my review on MBR recently, I said there was no current distributor. Well, I didn't know they're actually negotiating to come in with Ison distribution in the UK. So you'll be able to get forks and backup through Ison. If you want to search more about the fork, if I forget something, then go on Answer Products. Don't go on Manitou, because Manitou is those big telehandler things, the big red scoopy bucket things they use on farms and building sites. This is, you want to go Answer Products for this. Oh, as typical. Typically, I was going so well. I did a comparison with other forks, and that was kind of what you needed to know. And then we got tracked. So let's get back on track. And as you can see, Manitou like to do things slightly differently. So on most forks, that'll be the right way around, because the arch is at the front. Manitou now do it at the back. I mean, to be honest, they've done it at the back for ages. They didn't initially. I mean, Manitou were one of the original fork brands up there with RockShox and Mazzocchi. They launched a year after RockShox. They were around in 1990. I actually had an original Manitou one back in 1991, I think, working at Richard Spikes. But they switched to the rearward arch. God, I'm not going to put a date on that, but they've been doing it a long while, and it's interesting. Other brands have kind of come and gone with it. Pace did it for a while. Fox have just done it. Actually, Fox's first AI-engineered arch on their new Superlight 32 fork, the computer came up with a reverse arch being better. So maybe Manitou beat the quantum computers and got there first with the correct way around. It certainly, you know, it's not, I wouldn't say it's an ultra stiff fork. It's stiff enough, is what I'd say. I think once you get to 150, 140 mil, that kind of extension on it, you're starting to stress how much the the tips and everything track it. But 130 and below, then it's a perfectly stout fork. And I've never felt like the structural aspect of the fork has got in the way of the ride of it, but it's definitely for mid-travel, lighter trail bikes rather than being like a big hitting fork like the 36 or the Lyric. Other things you need to know that are slightly different with Manitou ownership: how to own and love your Manitou fork. Like I say, low and high speed compression damping, but while every other fork manufacturer in the world and suspension manufacturer on mountain bikes puts red as the rebound, on a Manitou, red is the low-speed compression and blue is your rebound. So that might be a bit confusing. Plus, this Manitou Mattoc has two air springs. You have the mainspring hidden underneath, and that's one glitch if I forget later. That can get a bit stiff to undo. It's all right now, but I've had a couple of incidents where that got a bit stiff to undo on there, and then it was hard to depress the pin as well. So I think, jumping ahead of myself, that's the only maintenance issue I've had, and I've been running this fork on and off for 2 years now. I've pulled it apart a couple of times to change travel on it, but apart from that, zero mechanical issues. Still really, really smooth. So I probably won't be able to do it like this, but yeah, no, there you go. still a really, really smooth fluid fork. And they actually sent me 2 forks at once, sent me 130 and 140. And so I possibly should have sent one of them back, but I didn't. I thought, right, great, we've got 2 samples to work with. So my mate John has been running the other Mattoc Pro in the Peak District, which is a notorious graveyard of all sensitive mountain bike componentry, and that is running equally smoothly, equally evergreen in terms of maintenance. And like me, he's been blown away by the overall performance of the fork. There we go. That's probably what you came in waiting for. God knows how long it'll be going on, but there you go. There's a little teaser to what the end result of this fork review will be. So why am I saying that? Okay, so super reliable, mid-weight, mid-stiffness, but those 2 air springs mean that you can set this fork up in a really, really wide range of feels. So the idea is that IRT only infinite rate tune. So you fill that up first and you balance the pressure of that against the pressure of the main chamber. So what happens is you run the main chamber softer, so the fork compresses on the main chamber until the pressure in the main chamber equalizes with the top chamber. So basically it's controlling the kind of middle to deeper part of the stroke. Because obviously if you have very similar pressures, it's pretty linear progression. The more pressure you have in that, the more it then ramps up at the end of the stroke. So the more of a curve. So basically it changes the spring rate by how much pressure you put in either one. And to be honest, if that's been hard to explain, it also can be a bit hard to set up. There's kind of a lot of Venn diagrams going on with this fork, because there's also the last 30 mil of the stroke has a hydraulic bottom out as well. So you're also getting bottom out control from the damper, as well as from this variable rate air spring. So there's quite a lot of Venn diagrams to play off against each other here. And there have been moments when I've been setting up where it all just gets a bit much and the forks almost becomes too fluid and kind of just has a bit of a mentee bee in the mid stroke. But persevere, get it dialed in, and this is just basically, you can tune it to be as kind of super supple as the latest RockShox pike, or as firm as those new Fit 34 grip forks. And you can do all of that without pulling plastic spacers in and out for the volume change on it, because basically that spring is kind of a more, I'm going to say it's a more sophisticated way of adding a volume. But it does a similar thing to a volume token, but in a more sophisticated way. What else do you need to know? What else do you need to know? Loads of damping on it. I mean, actually, not too many clicks. There's not a huge amount of clicks, but each click, there's only 4 of high speed. There's a lot more of rebound, low speed. But even I'm getting confused there because I look red and go rebound, but a lot more of low speed. But those 4 of high speed, really effective. And the low speed's nice and subtle as well. And unlike most forks at the moment, actually most forks in my career of using forks, you can actually use the damper on this. I've been running this pretty much middle of the range. I'm 70 kilos. I wouldn't say I'm super hard on forks, but I'm running this midway in the damper with pretty close to the pressures that Manitou recommend, and I found the setup really, really good once you've sorted out the nuances to exactly how you want that rate feel to feel. And you don't, because the temptation is to get it really, really plush, because it is such a sensitive fork. The temptation is kind of plunge down that rabbit hole of ultra smoothness. Then you go, whoa, hang on, I haven't really got the feedback and the support I need for that. So again, like I say, be prepared to tune around. But the good thing is it's a very usable range of damping from you getting from that. And again, rebound damping, really good range on there. And you can, it's enough that you can feel each click, but each clip makes a significant difference. There's not a load of dead band in there either. What else do you need to know? Said it's reliable, said it's super plush, said it needs a little bit of tuning time on it. The reverse arch, I mean, I think if you saw it on me Twisted Trek build-up, I think this looks absolutely bang on. But while it does come with its own little fender, plugs in there like that, well, you can see more or less, plugs in there like that, it's quite awkward to get an aftermarket fender. I mean, this is quite a short, floppy fender. It reminds me of the things you used to get on a rally arena road bike in the 70s. But if you want a full-size mudguard, your options are fairly limited because, I mean, I did actually get a crud catcher on the end just by slipping the rubber beak over the back of it. But otherwise, your race guards and things like that, your RRPs and things like that, you're going to struggle to get a fit on there. But there are some, and also it's 160mm rotor as standard. So you're going to need, which is great if you're running a lightweight rotor, but to be honest, if you're running a race fork from Manitou, you want the R7 or the new R8, which I have got coming into test, by the way. So I think most forks in this category go straight to 180mm, and I think that would be good on this fork. Because it just means you have to run a bracket on there, and that inevitably adds weight and a bit of complexity. You get pressure release ports on the back. I haven't ever felt the need to use them, but, you know, if you do get pressure release, it's nice to have those in there. There's a really neat brake hose guide on the front there that's kind of moulded into the front of the fork, or you can just zip tie it on the back if you fancy a simpler straight into the brake routing on it. And overall, it's just a really, really nicely put together because you got that naked crown on it. I think it just looks really sophisticated. And as you can see, paintwork's held up pretty well, and you've got these metallic decals on there as well. So yeah, what else? Oh yeah, the axle's a bit different to normal. So Manitou have always used what they call a hex. Well, I say always. Get me ahead of myself again. I have for a long time used this hex lock design, but rather than the axle kind of threading in, it actually has a captured bolt on that side. So it's not, this isn't just a bolt. As you can see, it's got a little hex segment on it there. Manitou say that stiffens things up. Don't really know if it does or not, but it just makes it a bit more awkward than if you're just screwing it in, because especially if you've got a wheel in there. Ha 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 ha! Ow! Just wound my finger into the end of the axle there. There we go. Well, that was good. I didn't swear, did I? That could have got rid of my family-friendly rating on YouTube very quickly there. But yeah, basically, oh God, how have I got through? I kind of alluded to it and then completely missed the major advantage of this fork until I almost went, goodbye, see you later. The major advantage of this fork is that it's very travel adjustable. So I was saying it comes from, you can set it up from 110 to 150mm, and even I can do it. I've done it. There's actually, I did a video of it, me changing the travel for the Twisted Trek. So if you haven't seen that, go back, and there's a segment in there. I'll link it from the end, where I actually do the travel change on this. But if it's something I can do, then pretty much anyone can do it. And the fork still works fine. I've done it from 130 to 140. Well, no, this came in 140 originally, so I took it down to 130 and then I brought it back up to 140. And it's just a case of getting in there, doing a partial strip down, pulling plastic spacers out or adding them in to change the travel with 10mm increments. So if you are travel curious, or you've got a bike that can take different travel forks, like the Trek Top Fuel I've been running, then this is a great match to those more versatile adjustable bikes. And like I say, because you can set the fork up in so many different ways, it's also a really good setup for suspension fettlers and sort of tune goons in general. So there you go, slightly long-winded, perhaps appropriately arse about face, talk through on the Manitou Mattoc Pro. Not a fork you see very often, which I think is a big shame, because it genuinely matches the performance of Fox and RockShox in terms of overall quality. but just in its own slightly different way, but has a real advantage if you want travel adjustability from your fork. Which is probably something I should have said in the intro. So I'll probably turn the camera off and then do like a little quick intro for Insta, and probably waffle on about everything I've done for God knows how long this has been going on in about a minute. So look out for that on Insta, and well, it's too late now, but you could have saved yourself the trouble of all this meandering and just watch that on Insta. Well, that's enough about the Manitou. Now press that subscribe button, like, share, tell your mates about the channel. Huge thanks to my Patreon subscribers, thanks to my channel sponsors. And if you want to get early, exclusive and behind the scenes edits ad-free, then throw me a few quid on Patreon, like the fine folks whose names were scrolling up at the start. Or they might be now. I haven't decided yet. But for now, I've been Guy Kestevan on Guy Kes TV, wishing, perhaps almost as much as you do, I'd written some kind of basic notes down below the camera before starting to talk about the Manitou Mattoc Pro.